演讲的老师是来自中国香港，他的议题是直接把 K8S 学习变成了一场超热血的 RPG 游戏。没错，就是我们熟悉的那种打怪升级解锁成就的异世界冒险。它的主题是 Kubernetes Isekai 异世界的日语啊。把 K8S 学习完成 RPG。好，欢迎我们的 Sakura 老师啊 ，Hello， 哎
Hello，
好，
大家好，大家好。我现在开了个 slide 先 PowerPoint。好，
嗯，
好，大家好，应该看得到吗？好，
可以看得到，
好，今天我会介绍的是我们的学校的一个 project 啦，它是我的学生一起教的功课，但是它是很好玩，我们每一天的学生也在玩，他在学着那个 Kubernetes 的。好，我的关于我是在那个香港资深科技学院做那个高科讲师的 senior lecturer 啦。我是教那个云端的课程的，在香港是唯一的。除了我是那个 Amazon 的 Hero 之外，我也是那个 Microsoft 的 MVP 啦，还是那个 Google 的 Expert 专家啦。我也是那个 YouTuber 在香港。好，现在介绍了我的科目。第一样是我刚刚说了，这是一个很有趣的东西啦，一个游戏啦。它是用那个AWS Academy Learner Lab 的来教的，这是不用钱，这是免费的，给所有我的学生学上那个 Amazon 的课机嘛。还有在里面我们也用了那个很新的 AWS Bedrock Gen AI 了，去令到那个所有的 conversation 我的学话语也变成一个有趣的东西啦。好，有一点背景的资料是关于那个Amazon 云科技的 Academy Learner Lab 的，它是一个免费的Amazon 入口，你可以找一点练习给所有你的学生在里面用，但是有一点的东西你要记得，就是那个4小时4 hour 的 session， 你只有4小时 login， 还有你只可以有一个$50的 credit 啦。还有因为它是不可以给你用所有的 IAM permission 的。你只可以用一个so-called lab role 去做你的功课，还是用那些Amazon 的东西啊。现在是一个demo video 啦，看看我开那个声音很快。好。
Hello 各位，咁呢個就係 Kubernetes 嘅 RPG game 啦，咁叫做 Kubernetes Isekai 啦。咁遊戲界面咧就有 Start Game 啦、Continue Game 啦同埋 Set Up 嘅。咁咧 Set Up 裏邊咧可以自己校翻一個 BGM 啦，因為我而家錄緊片咧就冇開 BGM 嘅。咁首先我哋開始咗遊戲先。好啦，咁呢個咧就我哋可以操縱嘅主角啦。咁主角嘅出生點咧就會喺佢間房入邊嘅。咁咧因為呢隻 game 咧係需要同一啲 NPC 接 task 啦，然後做一啲 task 嘅。咁而家呢度冇 NPC 啦，咁所以我哋要出去揾翻 NPC 先。好啦，咁而家喺客廳裏邊咧，我哋會遇到第一個 NPC 啦，咁我哋可以同佢 say 個 hello 先啦。咁俾啲時間佢撈一撈先，係啦，咁然後咧佢就會同你講話我係 Stella 啊，咁然後咧佢有啲古仔咁樣啦。咁因為呢隻 game 咧每一個 NPC 咧都有自己嘅背景故事嘅，咁所以咧就會同你講下古仔啦，同埋會同你講呢隻 game 入邊做啲乜嘢咁樣啦。好，咁我哋可以出去行一行啦。咁咧喺呢個地圖上面咧都有啲可以行嘅 NPC 嘅，咁每一個 NPC 你都可以同佢對話咁樣，但係咧有一啲 NPC 咧就會俾一啲 task 你咁樣。咁例如而家我同呢個男仔講下嘢先啦。好，咁呢個男仔叫 Lee 喎，咁樣就呢個 NPC 就冇 task 俾你嘅，咁唔緊要，我哋揾下隔離嗰個女仔。係啦，同佢 say 聲 hello 先啦。咁然後咧，佢就會同你講話咧，你有個 task 咧喺 Stella 度，你要做咗 Stella 嘅 task 先嘅。咁係嘅，呢一隻 game 咧嘅機制就係你喺一個 NPC 上邊接咗 task 咧，你係必須要做完嗰個 NPC 嘅 task 咧，先可以同下一個 NPC 接下一個 task 嘅。咁所以呢度就唔俾你接 task 啦。咁我哋可以周圍行下啦，呢度有餐館啦，有唔同嘅 NPC 啦，同埋呢度有個商店咁樣嘅。咁咧呢個遊戲入邊咧，每一個 NPC 咧都有 CD 嘅。咁如果我例如 啱啱我喺 Stella 嗰度做完 task 之後咧，我唔可以即刻同 Stella 接下一個 task 嘅，咁所以我哋就必須要係咁揾 NPC 啦。咁但係唔緊要，我哋呢度有個推介嘅地方，咁就係餐館啦，入邊有好多人，係啦。除咗呢一個老闆娘之外咧，其他 NPC 咧都係可以接 task 嘅。咁例如我而家揾呢個藍色頭髮嘅男仔，咁同佢 say 聲 hello。嗱，咁佢都會同你講話啊，你有個 task 喺 Stella 度未做完，咁我就唔可以俾 task 你咁樣咯。咁但係咧係表示咧佢係可以俾 task 你嘅 NPC 嚟嘅。咁呢一度 NPC 呢度嘅 NPC 全部都可以俾 task 你啦。係啦，咁大概隻 game 就係咁樣咯。
好，好，老师现在maybe I speak English better as我的普通话说的不太好啊。about the game actually the better since we just using the Lambda to manage it, but for the logic we using Google spreadsheet to generate the API key and then share the API key to my student, and then they just use the API key to use API gateway, and then they will have their own Kubernetes cluster. Normally, they can run the mini kube in EC2, and then they just share back the confidential of the Kubernetes in the web form of the system, and then the teacher can control all the Kubernetes cluster to student. Let me show you the architecture. Here is our architecture. Actually, it's quite straightforward, and everything is very low cost and serverless. We just make a game in a static manner, and then we use API gateway to handle the Ajax call, and using Lambda to do everything. For example, save the confidential, generate the key, and then handle the game task, do the grader. The grader is running the Kubernetes control inside Lambda, and then test all of the student cluster one by one. And behind the scenes, we also using AWS Bedrock to generate the conversation. Since there's the limitation is that the account from the student in the academic, they can't using AWS Bedrock, so I need to use my own account to generate the conversation and then just store it inside DynamoDB so that they can have a very interactive conversation. For this project, we separate into 4 repositories in GitHub. You can free to download and modify it. First of all, we have a grader system, and the grader system is AWS SAM framework. And then it is everything very easy to deploy. You just have a single command to run the SAM deployment, and then you can have the game here. For the logic of the game, you can develop your own and extend your collections. As it is, I will explain it is quite straightforward. Just everything is unit test, and the RPG game is mixed by a RPG maker, and it is a wrap just hosting in the GitHub page. And then I say about we have the Bedrock, and then we just have another project to put the notebook to generate conversation for the NPC. Okay, and why we have these designs? First of all, since we want to make this game free of charge to everyone, including students and all teachers, we don't want it to need to have credit card or anything. So at the academy, there's limitation. There's no cloud fund service for us, so we can't have the SSL certification, and also we can't set up anything in IAM. So we can't use Amplify, we can't use GraphQL, so we just make use of Ajax, and also we can't use Cognito, and a lot of setting is not settable, and maximum timeout for the API gateway by default is 29 seconds. With the support ticket, we can't increase the times. So there's a limitation is 29 seconds. This is the design. And to make the game logic for learning, we have different phrases. First of all, we have a setup phrase. Setup phrase means you create the base infrastructure for the student to learning. For example, you create a namespace or create some props for them. And then if you are doing something dynamic, you need to check is it ready. For example, I create some prop, and there is a web server. I make sure the web server is running before we doing the setup. And Also, after this stage, students need to work on their Kubernetes tasks their own. For example, create the namespace, create something, set up the horizontal auto scaling or everything. And then we have the challenge phase. For example, I just mentioned, we want it to do the horizontal scaling to increase the number of props when the load is increased. The challenge phase is that we generate the load to the system and then we check it and then check it. Is it really increase the number of the props? And finally, if everything okay pass, it will continue, let them test or clean up. Clean up is quite easy. Normally, we just delete the namespace and then we reset the cluster for the next questions. And we want to make sure students can't copy from each other easily. So every time we have some random section, random name, random ID for all of the game and all of the individual tasks. And we will combine the two different level of random, for example, session level and then game level, task level, and then we will have a combined session object includes a lot of random factor. To make the question everyone is different, we have the template language, let's say Python, and then you just replace the namespace, we set the value, and then I just mentioned before, every student will have different setting. And this is still very straightforward. Now it's time to use background. We have the NPC background. Everyone have their own story. There's the brain character, there is different NPC, they will talk to each other. We'll generate the conversation between them for each questions. Here is the question after we going through the background. Wow, you see it. Very quite a simple question. If you just create a namespace and then put a config map there, but after background and then two NPC interaction, we would because of different background story, and then they will have a very interesting conversation. Here is the day flow. We have game section, task section, and then a compiler section. We have the different background, NPC, instruction template, and then create the individual instruction, merge it, and then we will have different template for the answer, set up, tracking, everything based on the random section. For the testing, it's quite straightforward. It's just everything is very simple Python unit test. We just run the Py test, but what we do with the Py test is doing, we have to inject the JSON input, actually is the random section for individual student, and then we'll test it based on we just run the Kubernetes control or using the API to get the setting from Kubernetes, and then we just test it based on the random variable, assert. Everything pass, the student will get the mark. And now is about the technical. For the technical issues, we've been using Kubernetes control inside Lambda. We just very straightforward, just build it, put into the folder, and then point to the proper, use Docker to build it, and then just put to the proper path. We can run the Kubernetes control just like a very simple command tools. We just Kubernetes control apply, and then unit test every time. And for the AWS SAM, we have the API gateway use API Lambda. Since we don't want the student always calling my API, so we need to have the rate limit. Don't make it too fast. And also we have the course domain setting, the option, the course setting. This is quite, I use AWS SAM template. And for the Py test, we can extend the test very easily. Since it's just download the zip and it extract inside the temp folder. In the temp folder, extract it, and then we just run the unit test under the source code. And then I just mentioned we have different test phase and different test result, and then we will store the result in DynamoDB. How to connect to Kubernetes? Since the students submit their confidential and then the connection information, for example, IP address to us, and then I just download it from DynamoDB and save into the temp folder and then run the Kubernetes control. It will be able to read the Kubernetes of every student inside Lambda. Finally, for the conclusion, the time is very good. And Kubernetes Isekai is often a very innovative and engaging approach for my students, since they playing a game and they're learning something very boring. By using Kubernetes Isekai, my student, not just run it, many students just in my institution and then practice Kubernetes, use the free Amazon Academic Learner Lab to ensure the education is very easy and straightforward. Okay, good. time's up. Thank you very much.